Okay, the recording is stable and my VST isn't crashing. Sweet! I'm chicken. Otherwise known as sardonic poultry or chicken for the win or the win chicken, whatever the fuck you want to call me, whatever username you happen to see me using at the time. And today I want to rant a bit about something I'm very passionate about, and that is talking in the English language. I despise the English language, and this is from the standpoint of a native English speaker. English is the language I've spoken since I was a very young child. As soon as I was capable of speech, I've been speaking English. I tried to learn French, that didn't go so well. Tried to learn a bit of Latin, that didn't go so well. Tried to learn German, that didn't go so well. And I have a few reasons why for this, okay? But first off, I want to say, in British Columbia on Vancouver Island, where I live, we have quite a few exchange students from all over the world. Most of them learn English as a second language, and a lot of them feel as though English is a fairly easy language to learn as far as languages go. Especially if you're not a native English speaker, because English you can break and tear apart and it will still work. You can completely butcher the language and it still makes some sort of sense. And this is fucking ludicrous, but it's true. English teachers really don't need to be so uptight when, realistically speaking, the vast majority of poetry, culture, songs, rap, etc. in our society that is English is completely fucking. It's lacks all sense of grammar. There is nothing. There's no sense of order to any of it. Even if you look at the sonnets written during Shakespearean times, written by poets, you can tell that they butcher their own language and grammatical system to fit this new made-up system of organizing words to make them sound all right. This is fucking insanity. Yes, the words have to be exactly 6 lines, they should be iambic pentameter, and they have to fit this exact rhyming scheme. Oh yes, and it's best if you make sure that the lines have somewhere around an average of 5 syllables per line, just so that it all looks like a nice little fucking rectangle. This is ludicrous, guys, and nobody fucking seems to get this. I've talked to people even from Quebec. People from Quebec typically learn English and French just because it's good to know both, especially in Canada. I talk to people from Quebec and they all say, yeah, English is a really easy language to learn, and they're afraid of messing it up at first, but they learn fairly quickly that they don't have to be afraid of anything because the language itself is so fucked up. I've had English teachers that obsess over every single little grammatical rule. They try to obsess over every tiny little detail about how sentence structure is supposed to work. But realistically speaking, as long as you can read it and phonetically understand how to pronounce a goddamn word, you should be able to speak English. And even if you don't have such an intense vocabulary, such a vast vocabulary that you're able to articulate yourself and sound mature when in reality you're just a child fresh out of high school, if you can't do that, even if you can't do that, you can still speak English and people will still be able to understand you as long as you generally know at least one way to say to a way to convey the thoughts that you are thinking, then you should be able to speak English. Okay? There's multiple ways to say nearly anything in English. There's multiple abbreviations for things. Grammatical and punctuational rules dictate that we can contract words and shorten them together. Do not, don't, etc. But it gets fucking insane when you shorten it and use colloquialisms to combine to make I didn't have, which is I didn't, I wouldn't have, or I couldn't have. Or there's y'all of, you all would have, or you all could have. Fucking hell. This is absolute bullshit. Okay, okay, I have friends that are studying English lit. I have friends that are studying creative writing, and I have friends that aren't doing either. They're just writing for fun, and they all agree you need to know how to say things in different ways. You need to know all these sorts of things. But however, even if you write like shit, sure, it might not be artistic, might not be creative, but people will still understand what the fuck you're trying to say. And this pisses me off because I'm a native English speaker, because I was like by default speaking this shitty broken language. When I try to learn more advanced, more articulate, more um more picky and finicky languages like French, like Italian, like German, like Czechoslovakian, like Russian, every goddamn fucking language I try to learn is going to be harder than English. Because every other language, you have to conjugate verbs, you have to make sure that you're using the proper tense, you're using the proper sentence structure. With English, you can put emphasis through pronunciation on different parts of the same sentence and completely change the outcome of the sentence, and that totally makes sense, but it's all written the same way. Or you can have one word spelt the same way, pronounced two or three completely different ways, all entirely viable, all entirely understandable, but it's the same meaning for those words. Examples: either or either. Fuck. This is dumb. Or route or route is the same shit, pronounced very differently, but it means the same damn thing. Holy shit. I honestly feel a little bit bad for anyone who is a native English speaker who's trying to learn other languages. Okay? Even people who are trying to become more articulate in their speech patterns. Okay? Alright, if I'm put in a room where I'm talking to like an adult or like a doctor or something, I can talk maturely. I can talk as if I can talk like I am an adult, and it's perfectly okay. If I'm with my friends, I'm swearing like crazy, and in today's modern I already screwed that sentence up. In the modern vernacular of my generation, we speak using words that were previously extremely inappropriate in order to exercise hyperbole and exaggeration. We emphasize our points through use of words that were previously unusable in proper and polite conversations. Nowadays, these words are extremely commonplace. Example: the fuck. What the fuck? The fuck you talking about? Instead of saying, what are you talking about? Or, what the? No, it's what the fuck, because that word puts extra feeling into something, and it is understood by the vast majority of people that speak English that this is the case. There are dozens of words that mean the exact same thing, could be used entirely differently. Someone could be described as extroverted, outgoing, gregarious. They can be described as talkative. They can be described as passionate. Someone who's introverted can also be called words. People who are introverted can also be referred to as eccentric. And while this isn't true, those two words can be used in the same context, in the same way, depending on how you're trying to make yourself sound. I can't fucking stand this. The English language is a colossal pile of bullshit, and because it's spread across the planet by an empire back several centuries ago, an empire that controlled approximately 1/3 of the world at one point, giving rise to the phrase, the sun never sets on the English Empire, there are so many different colloquialisms, dialects, and different accents for English that there's actually practically different languages. And it's not like different dialects of French where there's like mildly different pronunciations that can change the meaning for different words. No, it's completely different dialogue and completely different vocabularies for English. Slang is completely different across one country, never less an entire fucking planet. Holy shit. And accents. People can sound entirely fucking differently. I have a Canadian accent. When I talk fast, when I talk with emotion, I talk with a bit of a Canadian accent. And a lot of people have pointed that out to me, and I'm actually fairly aware of this. You don't need to fucking tell me that. But I know that I speak with a bit of a Canadian accent. But I know people who don't talk with much of a Canadian accent. It's more neutral. It's less pronounced, and it's perfectly easy for me to understand them. I can understand a fucking Newfie somehow. Newfies speak like fucking weird as hell. Okay, the stereotypical Canadian accent, by the way, is that fucking Newfie. You're talking to a fucking Newfie. Alright, over east in the maritime provinces, they talk with those accents. Not out here in BC. I'm from Manitoba. That's probably why I talk with a bit of an accent. Whatever. One of the weirdest English accents I ever heard was the fucking South African accent. Holy shit! Have you ever watched the movie Elysium with I think it's Jason Statham. I'm not sure. Just some bald hero because he has cancer or something. He, anyways, the bad guy of that movie, hired killer, trying to take out the good guy. He speaks with a South African accent. It just sounds so fucked up. And no offense to people living in South Africa, I don't know different miniature variations of the South African accent. I know that there are differences. Trust me, I fucking know. But it's spread over a decently large area down South Africa, and I have not met many South African people. But to me, your accent is fairly fucking weird. Jesus fuck. There's an international student. He's actually my roommate. We have a connected bathroom between our two dorms, and every once in a while when we're in the common room, when he's in the common room with like actual Canadian people, he's South Korean, by the way, and he'll ask us like, what does this word mean? How do you pronounce this? And we try to help him out, but most of the time, because he's in more of an advanced English class because this is the university, he ends up he's learning words that we've never fucking heard, or we might have heard but we've never understood because we never had context, or we've heard it and we know what it means but we've completely forgotten because we've never had to practice that word, we've never had to use that word, so it just feels wrong when we try to say it. God damn, I think I need to eat something. I'm getting kind of hungry. Ugh. Anyways, I think I better stop here before I have a heart attack. Holy shit. Ugh, thank you for watching. See you on the next video you choose to watch.